I'm making this video because if I write it in depth, there's character limits to the posts, and I would have to write an entire review out, and some people would claim it's trolling if I just did a small post anyway. So I am going to give you all an in-depth review of Pokemon Snakewood by whoever the fuck made it. I personally want to say this to the creator: stop making games. You don't know what the fuck you're doing. You might know how to program, but that doesn't mean you know how to program well. That doesn't mean you're a good game designer just because you know how to program the goddamn thing. That's why, if I make video games, there's a difference between visualizing the mechanics and then making them into a reality. That's why programmers will have no say in the design process, because programmers are not artists. Some programmers might be artists, and some artists might be programmers, but you are not one of them. You are merely a programmer, probably an amateur at that, JavaScript and the like. So anyway, I'm playing this game, wasting my time, mind you, and at first it's relatively normal Pokemon shit. It's a little more challenging. It's a different experience. It's more about facing things as they come along as opposed to pre-planned outcomes. What I mean by that is you will come across trainers at different interludes, and these trainers will be relatively the same strength as yourself. So you have to always be prepared and level grind. As if there wasn't enough level grinding in Pokemon, this one demands more of it. So you have to always be on your toes, as trainers will be relatively the same level as you, because that's the way he designed it for some reason. And you rarely come across the so-called zombie Pokemon, despite how that's the entire premise of the game. That only plays a small part. In fact, it's more so this story he's weaved together, and it's such a Mary Sue concept, I won't even get into it. My point is, I thought this was supposed to be a game about zombie Pokemon, but apparently that just wasn't enough. No, it had to be this big thing about the Four Horsemen, and and him being some kind of spirit or whatever that lost his memory. This sounds like fucking Darksiders, and is as bad as Darksiders. So, I'm not even in like the middle of the game yet, because I found a review of it on YouTube, and from what I was in, I'm at like level 2 to 20 or something to that effect. I'm in the beginning of it. I'm only level 20 something, and I don't feel like going any further. There is no motivation to. By the time I get to the Dark Gym Leader, the only official gym leader, most times you have to find gym badges, and I like the concept of exploration, and gym badges are not something earned by just simply battling the gym leader, as opposed to you acquire them on your explorations. However, this one official gym leader, because she lives on an island and they don't have to worry about zombies and shit, you go there. For one, usually in dark gyms, when you can't see shit and you beat a trainer, your peripheral vision expands. Your entire horizon expands to be able to see what's going on. The scope of vision does not increase with the trainers you defeat. So, in essence, you're having to bump into walls the entire time and remember by heart how you got to her, or else you're just going to be walking around blind. And then when you get to her, this bitch has some strong Pokemon initially, and that's understandable, So you know who the star quarterback is, or at least I thought was the star quarterback of her Pokemon team, and you plan ahead. I had everything set up, it was going nice, and then all of a sudden, there's this homebrew Pokemon that is level 1, and none of my attacks are working against it. And I'm like, well, that's peculiar. And the more I try, nothing seems to work. And I'm thinking, well, maybe he's got some kind of super evasive ability. And then I look up what his ability is. It's called Wonder Guard. Apparently, only something that is super effective against it will work against it. What the fuck was wrong with you? But then I realized it wasn't your fault. Wonder Guard existed in the game, and only one Pokemon so far can learn it. So it isn't really you're to blame. Game Freak is to blame. What the fuck is wrong with you, Game Freak? Do you want people to DDoS your website and pirate all your games and fucking just jack you up? There is no excuse for this in the world. There is no way that in your staff meeting you rationalized that there should be Pokemon with this ability that only a select few can damage it at all, or in the rare event they have poison powder or some shit like that and can slowly dwindle its health. Now for this one guy's Pokemon, it makes sense. He's a level 1 Pokemon. Theoretically, you could use poison powder or something and just wait for it to die, pack a lunch, eat a sandwich, and just wait it out. But to think that someone at Game Freak thought this was a good idea to only let 2 or 3 elements at most, and so far the only one that has it is a bug and ghost type, so it has to affect bug and ghost type, affect this Pokemon at all, damage it at all, that's ridiculous. And it's more ridiculous in a homebrew setting where you don't know what the Pokemon is. I can assume that it might be a ghost type, seeing as it's this giant orb floating in the air, but this is Pokemon we're talking about. If we went by Pokemon standards, all the types would be something different, or sure as hell wouldn't be mixed, because everything's a fucking hybrid. So guessing is not if you have to guess, then that's not a good game. Games should not require walkthroughs, and this one clearly does. This one clearly requires a walkthrough from point A to point B, or it's either going to be extremely long and tedious, or you're just going to be stuck. And in the comments section, I'm noticing people are getting stuck quite often. It's not because of glitches. It's not simply because they're not trying. It's not because they weren't able to, figure out the puzzle. It's because it's long and grueling. For what? I don't like having my time wasted. And that is something that you need to think about before you make a game. You need to think about all these variables. Now, I'm not saying that it is your duty to make the perfect game or that the perfect game is possible. But for you to sit there programming this shit and to not think, I'm making a Pokemon no one's ever seen before, no one's ever heard of. Since it's my own creation, there's probably not going to be a lot of walkthroughs on it, and I'm going to give it an ability that requires them to know what it is and what affects it. What the fuck is wrong with you? Are you smoking crack? So, don't design games. And if I see you designing games again, I will do something personally to ruin it. Because there's no excuse for that in the world. You can't claim ignorance because you obviously sat down and thought about making this shit, and then you did it. So it's not clearly it didn't cross your mind. You just seem to not care. And this pisses me off because you get all these hackers that can make these games and yet don't fix the problems. It's like they just have this idea and then they run with it, and goddamn the consequences, goddamn the all the things that are wrong and all the flaws, the fatal flaws. This isn't a little thing. This is a big thing. The little things are like the annoying level grinding and the relatively challenging trainers back to back, and one random encounter after another, and the fact that the medikits that are suspended in animation and you have to find them and remember where they are because there's not many Pokemon centers. Those are little flaws. The fact that you would actually need to know the game personally. You would have had to help develop it to know what that thing is and then know how to fight it. That's a fatal flaw. That's a big flaw that you could have easily avoided and you would have had to known. There is no way you could not have foreseen that. So you are a horrible game designer. I don't know what your name is. I didn't bother to find out. And quite frankly, I don't care other than to know you on the street and punch you in the face. Because you are not talented by any means. You should not be making games. If you were hoping that this would be something to start out with and get your name out there and you could become a game designer, I got bad news for you. You're going to be flipping burgers for the rest of your fucking life. Because if you're not going to notice things like that, you have no business in the gaming market. Now mind you, there are a lot of bad games out there, but there shouldn't be. And morally, I am opposed to all of them. And if it were up to me, you all would be out on the fucking street begging for change. Because there is no reason for that whatsoever. It's completely inconsiderate. You don't even... do you even ask people if that's a good idea? Have you ever thought of just going up to anybody, a stranger on the street, ask them, have you heard of Pokemon? Have you played Pokemon? Okay, do you think it's a good idea to do this, this, and this? And collect that information. Just 5 people. And if 4 out of 5 of them say, no, that's a bad idea, it's probably a bad idea. If even 2 out of 5 say it's a bad idea, you might want to reconsider and tweak it a little. Because you know what? 2 out of 5 is still 40%. So, wait a minute. Yes, it's 40%. So, don't... Why? There's just no rationality for it. So, that's my review. The problem with most video game reviews is they're too fucking positive. They suck the dick of these programmers, and that's why they get away with murder. Because no one wants to tell them that they're full of shit, that they don't know how to create anything, and all they did was sell shit on a fucking platter. That's what it is. It's fucking feces. I probably have more entertainment from feces than this game. All I've done is waste my time. I would have more amusement taking pictures of my own shit in the toilet and sending it to friends than I would playing this game. And I mean that. That's not meant to be some kind of exaggerative quip. So, see ya.